The divisive YouTuber Shane Dawson recently visited Steve-O's Wild Ride, which is what the 2000s TV personality Steve-O decided to call the obligatory podcast that our Apple overlords seem to give every single celebrity who has gone more than 6 weeks without being on TV. Mama, if I didn't tune in to watch Meghan Trainor sing for 2.5 minutes, what makes you think I'm gonna tune in to watch her speak for 1 hour? You think I care about those intermittent ads for Squatty Potty? However, Steve-O sets his Wild Ride apart from other podcasts immediately by introducing his interview with Shane as one that would be filled with compassion. Evidently, the word compassion has a Latin translation that means softball questions and unqualified counselor lingo, while some claim that this interview is one of Shane's most upfront conversations about his cancellation after politically incorrect videos of his resurfaced a few years ago. I would argue that we actually get to witness Shane and his most upfront refusal to accept complete accountability, as well as what is probably in his top 10 most upfront facing hairstyles. A Harry Styles inspired crazy looking comb over. We love to see it. So please stow your styling cream and blow dryer as we prepare for liftoff into the blue skies of Shane Dawson, filled with bypassing any specific details, passing the blame for his blackface onto specific black people, and by downplaying the mistakes of his past, going out of his way to compare them to a very specific felony. I guess Steve-O can make any conversation seem healing if he has it while looking through that Oprah Winfrey eyewear. It's time to secure your seatbelt for Steve-O's Wild Ride right into a Shane Dawson flavored installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web. And we break it down like it was the month after month of the hardest year of my life where I prospered for millions of dollars to look at each individual clip and decide if it's worth refinancing our LA home to buy one in Colorado, or if it's just a money pit where we're sinking all of our blood fortune into. And we come to you today with a rare sighting of Shane Dawson on a podcast that isn't his boring podcast, but another one. And I will thank this TikTok user for alerting me to the existence of this video. And then I will also thank myself for having the mental fortitude to sit through the 20-minute cut down clip version of this podcast interview, because mama, you want me to watch an hour and 10 minutes of this talking on a bus like two and losers? I'm just kidding. I have nothing against Steve-O other than this interview didn't enlighten me as much as you would think it would based on the title. But before we get into it, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. That lets me know that you want to see even more content of Shane Dawson, but also make sure you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week. Merch, Patreon, all of this stuff. Turn on the notifications. Way down south with the hanky-panky. I told myself this would be a quick episode, and now I'm doing f***ing clapping hand motions. I was kind of into Steve-O's introduction of Shane Dawson right off the bat. I mean, I do give Steve-O credit for he genuinely seems like he wants to be fair in this interview with Shane, although I do notice sort of a lack of crucial interview skills that would have pressed further into what seem like excuses and justifications on Shane's part, and that, whether Steve-O meant to or not, makes this whole episode feel like it's just Shane getting to save face or state his side of the story without any sort of pushback. And it can't go unnoticed that Steve-O was once a guest on Shane Dawson's podcast. Do I want to see clips of that? No, but let me know in the comments if you do, and then I guess I do too. Anyway, here's Steve-O's characterization of Shane's entire career arc.
In some cases, people will build careers, become famous, and then do something super offensive to people. Shane Dawson was super offensive the whole time. That's actually like what he became famous for, kind of. You know, you were just a wild, outrageously offensive guy, and everything was great until people just got upset about it after the fact.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, listen, like I'm not one of those people that's mad that I got canceled. I mean, maybe in the beginning I was, you know, yeah, because those videos were from a long time ago, and a lot of this stuff was from a long time ago.
Oh, okay. But like, you still did it during modern times, right? It was post-industrial revolution, if I'm not mistaken. Answer this. When you did blackface, were you or were you not aware of the steam engine and the spinning jenny? Just so I can get a clear idea of the timeline. By the way, I'm marking down spinning jenny as the potential basis for my 2023 summer alter ego. Who's spinning jenny? Only the coolest DJ of electronic music, who's both very brave and extremely dizzy. But guess what? She never lets her self-diagnosed vertigo stop her from riding the Ferris wheel at Coachella once a year. That's the Spinning Jenny story. Her name is Spinning Jenny, every track is such a bop. They call her Spinning Jenny cause she hits her head a lot, that could sound electronic in your head. Anyway, now back to this who had a lot to say the other day about cancel culture on Steve-O's podcast. I would take any of Shane's apologies more seriously if he could present it without starting with the caveat that his problematic behavior happened so long ago and both he and the world were so different back then. Like, I'm pretty sure you were in your early 20s and society was already past the civil rights movement, was it not? I just don't understand how 2014 to 2018 is made to seem like it's made such a difference in your mind. Those 4 years weren't even long enough for you to retire one of your most racist characters from being printed on the t-shirts in your merch store. In fact, it kind of makes it worse since a lot of those people that were laughing at your racist and transphobic jokes in 2014 were children who grew up to laugh at racist and transphobic jokes when they were 18, which is when they also had the new power to vote in favor of racist, anti-trans, anti-LGBTQIA+ policies. All because you made space for that kind of hateful rhetoric when they were kids. Also, it's weird that Shane feels okay with continually apologizing or openly discussing his blackface incidents or the cat comment, but never once for sexualizing minors and inappropriately kissing/touching them at any number of his book signings when he was 21 years old. Like, what about the psychological consequences those kids could have experienced? What if he, in part, made it seem normal for adults to treat children in that way, and that in turn prevented some children from recognizing that something wasn't right in how they were being treated by other adults in their lives? You see what I'm saying? And ultimately, how is Shane using any of the vast fortune he's acquired by doing those things to support any organization that works to help protect some of the communities that he's harmed? I'm sorry, but unless a trans survivor of color happens to own his local Crumble Cookies location, then it's not clear to me that he's made any sort of significant monetary contribution to any of the minority groups he's made hateful content about. So Shane goes right away into telling his side of the story, which weirdly doesn't sound like a selfless act of apology.
The more mainstream YouTube got, and the more I was doing documentaries on documentaries, people don't like me when I call them that, but...
Shane, if you think what you made was a documentary, call it a documentary. Who cares if people like me think that term implies a certain level of prestige, or storytelling, or technical aptitude for the art of film that I have yet to see in any of your pieces of I mean, there are plenty of documentaries out there that hold up despite their extreme informality. And baby, you could not get more informal with what you're cranking out. But hey, you say tomato, I say tomato. Just know that the tomato I'm talking about is one of those pale, flavorless ones that they would put on top of your wedge salad at a roadside diner. In a alternate universe where nuclear winters have destroyed the global agricultural system and plunged all of humanity into societies fueled by fear, famine, and malnutrition. And that's how I would describe every single video you've made with Jeffree Star. I mean, at best I might call them documentary style vlogs, and that sounds more accurate, but it's your work, baby. You can misrepresent it however you want. That's the beauty of America. Anyway, what were you saying about your not documentaries? And it pisses me off when you call them that.
I was doing videos about people that were more mainstream, and then they were really surprised by all the old videos. Sorry, I'm so awkward. I don't talk about this stuff really except for like therapy, so I don't know.
Haven't you talked about this stuff before though?
Yeah, not really. Like I'll touch on things in podcasts a little bit, but then I kind of stop because if you talk about it, people think you're trying to be a victim. If you say about certain things, they think you're manipulating or you're trying to change the narrative or all this shit. So I just don't talk about anything.
I mean, Shane, people talk about their mistakes all the time without sounding like the victim. For example, I apologize for ever cracking a joke about your hairline and how moist it looks right now. See, that had nothing to do with me. And I didn't turn around to start explaining how I only said it because sometimes my forehead is under the sea soaking wet. And it makes me really insecure. And therefore, everything I do that sucks is softened for the general audience to perceive. No, that's victim-y and manipulative. Do you see the difference? Splashtown, USA, above the brow? I'm just kidding. I do sweat a lot, so it. The point is, I don't understand how Shane can continually get the feedback that his apologies come off with this tone of self-victimization or revisionist history, and he has never taken that on enough to look at those apologies and decide which parts of them come off like pointless explanations and should therefore be trimmed out of the final cut. I mean, I would guess it's the same thing that got him into this whole mess, which is his refusal to take outside opinions on his work. He would only like to hear from people who completely co-sign his bullshit, no matter how problematic his behavior gets. Thank you very much. But anyway, Shane, just tell us how this all unfolded, and we'll do our best to make sure that you don't sound like you're making yourself the victim.
You know, like the last 2 years after I got canceled, and I was like, I'm done. Not making any videos ever again. I'm done. I went through, you know, not to get too, you know, whatever, but it was really bad. And then we moved to Colorado. That's where my husband's family is, and I'm really close to them, and I just wanted to get away for a bit. And also we found this house out there that was unexpected, so we moved out there, and I had the best year of my whole life. Like 2020 was really bad, and 2021 was like, I wasn't on my phone, I wasn't on the internet, and it was the best year ever.
Honestly, Shinbone Don Juan, I am completely baffled as to how anyone construes that to seem like you're making the story all about yourself. How? By simply dog whistling for empathy? By vaguely implying that the internet was so cruel in its criticism of you that you became suicidal? And then you took the brave hero's journey to stop Googling yourself? While also buying a second $1 million home using your blackface fortune? That's probably inspirational to every minority group on the planet. And yes, I do speak for all of them. What more do people want from you? That story was as selfless as your hair is combed in a normal way. Before we go any further, I have to give you some big news. I am a professional chef. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm just your everyday mama and influencer, which means I have to watch my budget, especially during the long summer months where I don't want to A, be spending money on things that aren't fun, B, I don't want to do things that take a lot of time. And for me, that's always cooking. But now, thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Everyplate, I have a great value in getting delicious meals from fresh ingredients sent right to my door that come together in about 30 minutes or less. If you're looking to budget both your time and your food expenses this summer, then you might want to know Everyplate meals are 25% cheaper than grocery shopping. And you're never going to encounter any hidden fees, so it's just a great value, and you're not buying food you're not going to use, thanks to their pre-portioned ingredients. And many people don't realize that Everyplate is also a sustainable choice. Everyplate offsets 100% of their delivery emissions getting the box to your door. Plus, these delicious meals have a 31% smaller carbon footprint on average compared to supermarket meals of the same portion. I love how much easier meal times have gotten. Like, I can really get into the flow of cooking if I know it's gonna be a snappy 30 minutes. I can turn on my favorite movies or YouTube channels or just like kind of talk to my dog, and I'm not sacrificing on quality. Everyplate meals are comprised of just the highest quality ingredients, including sustainably sourced seafood. I also love not having to take an extra trip to the grocery store. Like, if I can skip the grocery store 1 week, that's a good week for me. And Everyplate has put me over that line multiple times. Plus, you can rotate out your meal options every week. I don't feel bored, do you? It's such a relief knowing that there is an option like Everyplate where I can have meal kits delivered when I used to think that they were just all going to be too expensive. Not so. Everyplate is America's value meal kit, and it's certainly a value in this homestead. Get started with Everyplate for just $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code DiRamio149. That's $1.49 per meal when you go to everyplate.com and enter the code DiRamio149. An amazing value on an amazing value. That's an amazing value. Thank you so much to Everyplate for sponsoring today's video. It's very interesting when I hear Shane say that he wasn't on his phone or the internet throughout all of 2011 because, like, yes, you were, we saw you. He was posting on Instagram regularly starting in June of that year and appearing in videos for Ryland's channel by at least August, where he hinted at the full-scale return to his own YouTube channel. I'm just saying, I find it hard to believe that Shane swore off technology completely and wasn't scrolling through TikTok and Twitter just as he normally had. In which case, what he really means is that he just stopped absorbing any of the negative comments or criticism about what he had done to harm minority groups. Don't get me wrong, I mean, people have every right to not read the mean things people say about them on the internet, especially to protect their mental health. But what I'm trying to say, if Shane doesn't have that, then where else in his life is he taking steps to get feedback on how to make reparations or what he could do to become a better ally in the future? Because honestly, this makes it sound like the steps he took included making one weak-ass apology laced with caveats, sought forgiveness from like the 1 or 2 people of color that were still friends with Ryland at that point, and then further isolated himself from anybody who lives outside of his rich, privileged bubble, convinced that by not actively posting anything problematic for a few months, he was doing the work. Literally making this up off the top of my head, he could have used those months of time off to work with some sort of consultant who has the expertise in how to make his content more responsible and inclusive to such a large audience. He could have been promoting organizations that helped protect vulnerable children. He could have organized open dialogues with trans creators who were able to let him know how the stereotypes he purveyed were harmful and impacted them negatively. I'm sorry, but after hearing his self-centered story about growth and healing, it's like, did you even read a brochure about microaggressions? Seems like that would be a good use of time during the dozens of days that you were lucky enough to be able to pass by without working, without doing anything, because you're already so rich from all of the problematic stuff you've already done. I hope that's clear.
I'm obviously ashamed of a lot of the old videos and the old sketches and stuff, but it's not like a secret thing. I didn't hurt anyone. I mean, I guess I hurt feelings, but I didn't physically hurt anyone. I didn't rape anyone. I didn't do anything to where I should be in hiding.
The good news is it seems like Shane is finally working on how he formulates these responses with the help of a publicist. The bad news is that publicist keeps advising him to abruptly and needlessly throw the word rape into the conversation and then minimize the severity of his own mistakes in relation to it. You know what, I actually take it back. It's clear to me now that this person is obviously not working with a publicist of any kind. At best, he might have had an imaginary consultation with one of his politically incorrect fictional characters. This guy was media trained by Shanae in a Sarah Palin wig. That's what it probably was. This response made me cringe so hard that my jaw seized up. And now I have to cancel my hot dog eating competition that I had scheduled for later today. And yes, that is a euphemism for when I eat an entire package of microwaved hot dogs for lunch in front of a window where all of the neighbors can see. I feel that it asserts dominance. Shane Dawson really said, I mean, I guess I hurt feelings. That's very astute, Shames Charles. Yes, you did. Hurting people's feelings is in fact what caused your whole channel to be boycotted and caused Jada Pinkett Smith to admonish you via Twitter. I'm so glad you're just now starting to guess that that's what happened. Pardon me, but Shane Dawson must have the simple mind of a child to effectively try and excuse himself from blame by saying that his actions never physically hurt anybody. You don't know that, Shane? My eyes ache after watching some of this content that you make. Your content is such an eyesore that my body starts rapidly forming cataracts in defense. Just as soon as I hear your voice. When I make these videos, I have to use prescription eye drops in between takes. You tell me that that's harmless, that's physically harmless. Physically harmless to who? Not Nikki D's eyes, not Nikki D's eyeballs. Like, yeah, Shane, it's true. Maybe your videos didn't directly cause physical harm to anybody because they are series of images and that makes it nearly impossible for them to exert force. But that doesn't mean that your videos didn't have an extremely negative emotional consequence that contributed to emotional pain for many types of people. How many young white kids would watch Shane Dawson achieve YouTube fame while portraying racial stereotypes, which in turn helped normalize it for them to go into school and make similar racially offensive jokes in front of their non-white friends who would then internalize the fact that they were different in a bad way from white America. That's like a lot of damage and a lot of problematic humor for content that is aimed at children. What, was he in a competition competition with every single episode of Victorious on Nickelodeon. By the way, if he feels like he shouldn't have had to go into hiding when he was being canceled, then why did he go into hiding? I agree, that actually feels like the more cowardly thing to do. I just rattled off 3 very basic, unprofessional ideas about how he could have remained visible after this controversy, because in my opinion, after something like this occurs, Shane could have, and arguably should have, continued showing up to work and taking whatever steps were necessary to show that he was a changed person, because as of now, he hasn't made that point to a lot of his audience. Are you remorseful? Are you committed to change? Put your money where your mouth is. Put your time or your platform where your mouth is. It's been Aryan Nation on Shane Dawson's channel since day cancel.
The way I put it is I feel like I'm cancer.
We got a confession, gang. That right there is the thing that killed my great-grandmother and occupied the breast of my art teacher in middle school. But in all seriousness, no, Shane, you are not cancer. You're more like the lab rat that the CIA uses to invent new kinds of cancer that they can hopefully weaponize against the public when it's time to switch us over to a full-time martial law. Remember to vote, kids. I don't know who this co-host of Steve-O's is, but he's the one who's like, I don't know about you, but I've been to therapy for 2 weeks, so it seems like you have an anger issue with yourself. It's like, okay, glasses, we're so insightful. Again, I don't know why I'm coming for Steve-O in this whole thing. I think I just didn't appreciate the kid gloves that were being used here. I get it's like a compassionate episode, but can't you compassionately ask for follow-up information about ways that he showed he was sorry? No, let's just hear more stories from his childhood that will help get us on his side a little bit more.
I'm not like a gross person. I'm not like a shocking person in my real life. I've always been really quiet. So with the videos, I mean, I grew up watching, Scary Movie and, Chappelle and all those things. So that was kind of how what I liked formed. And I love playing characters.
I don't think citing the specific sources that inspired his racism is gonna play like he thinks it will. A lot of people your age grew up watching those movies, Shane, but most of us didn't scribble brown marker all over our faces and start spewing hate speech onto the internet at age 20. Also that your 14-year-old fans would let you touch them in a sexual way at a Barnes & Noble meet and greet that their dad brought them to, that's a very specific reaction, so I don't understand. First of all, both of those examples, Scary Movie and The Chappelle Show, were created by black comedians, so I would hope that Shane can see how it didn't count as blackface when they played a character, but I guess I'm even more confused as to why he thinks this is worth mentioning anyway. Unless it's to try and justify his actions by claiming it twas the Blockbuster DVDs that he rented for to caused him to change this way. If movie rentals could form your whole identity, then baby girl, I would already be Mewtwo from Pokemon the first movie by now. I really find it difficult to appreciate any of this backstory when it only seems to be in an effort to make himself seem empathetic or relatable to the people who might not fully be on his side yet. And it's like, all I see is a dark bus where a sad guy is talking to a spiritual guy while a guy with glasses went to therapy on the side. We get it. I don't care.
Like, I'm not delusional. I know why I got canceled. I understand it. I get it. I feel sorry about it. But yeah, it was a lot. I don't think any person should be put through that, because if I didn't have Ryland, I'd be dead.
And conversely, if Ryland didn't have you, he'd still be a celebrity gossip presenter as well as aspiring actor slash model. Can you imagine being stuck in an improv class with Ryland? No matter what the scene is, he always plays the same exact character, a bowl of potato soup. What am I supposed to do with that? Yes, and you are soup now? This is very limiting. Mama, I agree with Shane that nobody does deserve to be bullied online, especially to the point where they're thinking of ending it all. And I'm genuinely glad that Shane found the support he needed to make it through that time. But the thing is, when he brings up his own life-threatening mental state as one of the consequences of quote-unquote cancel culture, it seems to undermine the amount of accountability that he says he's willing to take for the harm he's done to other people. Not everybody who spoke out about wanting to deplatform Shane Dawson was being a troll who made personal attacks on his insecurities. It doesn't seem fair to lump in the cyberbullies with the soft-spoken, polite activists who were respectfully letting him know how his actions had a negative effect. bringing up your mental state at the time like this is exactly what people meant when they say, when you talk about this, it sounds like you're trying to manipulate the narrative. Just leave that journey as a completely separate conversation from all of your racism and the apology therein. Just for once, Sylvia Plath, I want to be real here. Depression is very real and it needs to be taken seriously. But if Shane is saying that the people who tweeted about him, whether it was kindly correcting or rude and ruthless, if they need to be responsible for the emotional pain that they caused him, then he should also feel like he has to take responsibility for his own words and actions that negatively impacted many more people than just one online, and may have even caused an equal, if not greater amount of pain for some of them. It's just not as meaningful to hear someone say, I'm sorry I hurt you, but you hurt me more afterwards. Here's some advice, Shane. Your rule for making an apology should be exactly like Ryland's rule for your sexual intimacy. You need to leave your butt completely out of the equation, or it's gonna get very uncomfortable for everyone else. And that's all I have for you today on Shane Dawson's Steve-O installment of Wild Riding That in the Moonlight. What do you think? Am I reaching? I honestly don't think that I am, so argue about it with me if you feel like it. But to me, it's like, I don't want to hear fucking excuses, as RuPaul said in that one episode. If you can just make an apology strictly about apologizing, and if you can show your audience that you're taking actionable steps towards improving your relationship or understanding of those communities you've harmed, or even just sharing some of your wealth with them so that they can do the work that you are not able to, then I would feel like you've done more than just say sorry for some of the things, but not all of the things, and then you spout the same really poorly executed explanations every time someone asks. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and most importantly, give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more Shane Dawson content. But the most vital and crucial and actionable step you can take in this screen realm is clicking that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week. And click that notification bell icon. That way you'll always be the first to know when I'm serving up a proper apologetic situational sorry without the qualifications and conditions of the terms of your Spotify premium account. You know what I'm saying? I don't either, it's okay. Also, I've got merch available and a Patreon where you can access exclusive episodes and virtual watch parties. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for finally confronting your problematic past with me today. I'm Steve-O, and I will see you next time.